And hello, how to think. Thanks so much for joining us once again. And it's a delight to have Sabin Howard back with us again. Sabin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you, Peter.
No, great. You're great to see your new project, which we'll get into. I saw it all at the Grand Liberty Arch that you had displayed right as a centerpiece there at Arc, and I know you were speaking. And I think last time, goodness, it's been now nearly 2 years, isn't it? September 2024 since the World War I Memorial was unveiled.
Yeah. That's this is the next chapter in my life. So here we are.
Well, I want to get in. Let me just play a little clip from the website. All the links are in the description. But to give it an overview of the World War I Memorial, and then I want to get your thoughts on kind of how that fits into America and its 250th. So let me bring this up and let me play this.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place.
This mammoth, epic, 60-foot-long bronze is about humans. It is a memorial about us, we the people. Each one of us has the choice on how we will spend that gift of terminal energy. The value of life is sacred. It is the energy that allows us to rise every day and fight for the truth and to move towards the light. This monument is a statement about what we can be as a country, as a nation. And I am in service of something bigger than myself. I learned this from the combat veterans that posed for me. Their faces are on this bronze forever. They are in direct lineage to those young men and women that left our shores 106 years ago. And this sculpture is in service of our nation. It is in service of the veterans today and the veterans that are no longer with us. This is the hero's journey. It is the story that shows what we can be. Every single soldier, nurse, child on this wall represents the heroic nature of those humans who were affected by war. There are no victims here. They are all heroes. They are all moving forward, calling upon their better selves and giving unstintingly to their country to protect what we so often take for granted, our freedom to choose what we will do with the gift of life.
Tell me a little bit about how that fits into America's 250th. I think it's quite poignant looking back at that history and connecting that to America's history. But that connection, I guess, of sacrifice or resilience, how does that fit into this year, the 250th?
Well, there's a common thread. It's really, I hate to do this, but it becomes a political statement. Are we going to be taken care of by others, or are we responsible for our God-given gift of life? And it's this polarization of like, it's 7:15 in the morning here, and I'm starting to talk to you about this is the issue that we face right now. It's a spiritual issue. This is not it's larger than it. I see it as a light and a darkness, a fight against something that's very evil. And it's taking away the concepts of Western civilization. How do we fit within that larger framework of the universe? What does the human condition have to do with God? And then that's an enormous factor, because God is always with us. And last week at ARC, I said, He is still with us. Just some of us have decided to close our eyes. And so my mission with the sculpture, because I became larger than just a sculptor in the studio operating privately, I'm making art that's in the public realm, in the public arena. It's visible to visitors. So I'm not working for myself anymore. I'm working for the person that comes to see the art. And this is a little heady, but art is a representation of who we are. And so this is the next step within that. And the 250th is our country's very, very unique. I realized this while I was in London last week. I had a sense of an energetic oppression in London where there was, what is it, 15 million people in this city, and it is very, very congested. If I have to travel to even 2 miles, I'm in if you don't take the tube and you're a cab, it could be an hour and 15 minutes. So what I'm saying is the quality of life has gone way down and the cost of life has gone way up. And so it's like, what is this ability to make life, and common citizens, their experience of every day go way downhill. And so this 250th talks about one thing, really, freedom and liberty. And that is what the message is. It's like, what is this freedom thing? And freedom talks about agency, self-responsibility. And then the last thing refers back to London. It's the ability to choose and manifest the vision that you want to have for your life. So that's the spiritual battle that we're fighting right now. If you have governments and organizations, institutions telling you what you can and can't do, it becomes problematic if you wish to be creative. And if you wish to think outside the box and build things, this is where I come in. I'm an artist. I never chose to be part of the herd. I always, as artists don't fit within society. They come and they have a vision of it's not democratic what I do. I'm not going around asking people, well, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? No, I have a vision. And the vision is, it's individualistic, but let's hold on a minute, put the brakes on. It's not only about me. I have to do something that I can share with others, and stepping into an arena and making public art, I'm really beholden to the people that come see my sculpture to understand that story. So that story that I'm making for the 250th with the Grand Liberty Arch is exactly that. It's, guys, this is your life. You need to think about what you wish to do, which is manifest the vision. And then that takes courage and faith, that's God, to step into the void, because you don't know how it's going to go. You're not going to make a piece of art and get paid on Friday. It's like, you got to figure it out. So it's like, I'm in a different zone than most people. I've lived in this zone for, 45 years. So it's something I've become used to, but you don't know what will happen. And that's why at ARC last week, I really spoke about God, because God is the mooring that I have, that I don't lose it mentally. I have a sense of stability and anchoring because I feel protected. I have a sense of belonging to something way larger to myself. So my courage rises and I can be in that uncomfortable place. I don't feel that in London or New York City.
No, and I want to get into the idea of God, and I was intrigued watching your speech, one of the few that was so explicit on faith. And I want to get into the Grand Liberty Arch, but just last thing on the World War I Memorial, it's interesting when you look at war and you think of war as destruction, as chaos, as damage, and yet in something like the memorial you've done, it brings people together. It brings a sense of unity. It brings a sense of history. And it's intriguing how a concept of war, which can be divisive, actually can be unifying.
Yeah, the main gist that I think you're pointing at is I sculpt from real life people. And the hero's journey has 38 figures. Some of them are characters that continue through the thread. But the main thing is I'm sculpting very specific people that have been in very specific situations. So using veterans, your face changes as you suffer. And so if I'm observing someone's face and I'm really looking at the details of how that face is put together structurally, And then what is the story, the emotional quality of that individual? I'm bringing that energy to that sculpture. And so then when somebody looks at the sculpture, it has an impact on them, because I bring to them something that it's like a bronze movie. Its lifespan is way greater than a movie, which flashes by you on the screen. But the similarity is that you're telling a story that they can engage themselves in emotionally. And so they pull out of that, and they connect. And this has been going on in the beginning of Western civilization. It's a connection to the art. And then what happens to that visitor is they have an elevation of human spirit. They move towards higher human consciousness. And it's the opposite of what modern art does, which it debases you, takes away your humanity. And so that's why I said this is a spiritual war that we're in. And I'm not going to be shy about God anymore. God is what has really anchored our society in Western civilization for so many years. And then, it's ironic. I make the World War I memorial when 22 million people are decimated. And then it's like, that's the line in the sand that, well, how can God exist if my dad and my mom were killed and my brother and my village is gone and my house is gone? How can God exist? It's a turmoil. It's heart-wrenching when you think about it. And we're living right now. It's like, 107, 8 years past that point? And it's like, we're living the repercussions. It's like the rock got thrown in the pool of water, and this reverberation of the water, the ripple effect. We're still living it. People are unaware, because it's like, I don't want to engage. It's like, no, I want to watch my Netflix. It's like, let's get entertainment. And so we're not getting elevated. We're just moving into entertainment. And that's what I'm fighting. And I made the Grand Liberty Arts is like my response to, like, no, we're not going to just look at this as entertainment. It's got to go beyond that.
Well, let me bring us on to that, and I will get on to your speech a little bit. But let me just play the background video and get you to talk through what we'll talk about the practicality, but simply what I guess is behind this. So talk us through this.
Yeah, this is actually in England, in Stroud. The amazing place I go to is the Pangolin Editions Foundry. So I go there because and then this is ARC, which we unveiled the sculpture at. We brought that sculpture over to the Olympia Theater. It's this incredible venue of, I think, 4,000, 5,000 people. And this is moving in a direction that becomes global, because the visitors to this conference come from all over the world, and they're looking for how do we become responsible citizens? That's what ARC stands for. And it's a play on words, that get in the ark, and row. The ark is, that biblical symbol of we are in a storm. Get in the ark and row. And you have all these people that come together. Now, this is in Idaho, in Sun Valley. I landed, and then the next day I drive 10 hours to Idaho to present it to a group of bankers, because this project that I came up with has no governing body. It's a commission from God. And so it's like I have to put everything together myself, being proactive. It's like, I can't wait for someone to come call me and let's make a giant sculpture again. It's like, no, I'm 63. We need to get on with it. And so it's like, I finished the other one, and it's like, okay, I'll do this on my own. So now I'm in the West. I just left the East Coast, probably for good. I can't take it anymore. I'm done fighting. And I came to a place that has the same values of, faith, family, and country. And that's what this monument is about. It's a very dynamic monument. As you can see, nothing is contained. These are statements about who our citizens are and who human beings are. The figures up above are very large. They are seated. Those are 8-footers, so 12 foot standing. The figures on the reliefs are 8 to 9 feet in scale, and it is the history of our country. It's a philosophical history about agency, self-responsibility, and manifesting a vision. And it's has 6 panels below, and then up above it has an overarching theme.
Tell me the difference between the World War I Memorial. You'd responded, I think, to a plan, and you won that. So, if you were commissioned, it's your commissioning. You're putting something forward. Tell me the difference of that, because this is very much your vision and your drive.
Yes, exactly. The other one, I had to enter into a competition and that was in Washington. It was run by Centennial Commission. The land had been granted by Congress, written into legislation, signed by the president. So I'm coming into a structure already. There's a parallel nature here to the and what I did. America has many issues. I am not one to whitewash the situation in my country. However, I come from a European background and I have an Italian passport and an American passport. I love Italy. Italy is my heart, as you can tell. But I would never be able to do what I do in Europe. Sorry, guys. I came to the United States as a young child at 3, so I'm bicultural and bilingual. And here I go, I get this National World War I Memorial, and then what comes next? It's like, I'm scratching my head in my house in Connecticut in the woods, and nobody's coming, nobody's calling me. And I have a lot of juice still to go. I have a lot of energy. I want to make a difference. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to make something little. And so it's like, okay. I come in from the woods one day and I say to my wife, I've been praying. She said that I was filled with Christ, consciousness, and light. She sees things. Tracy, my best friend. Tracy says, what's going on? And he looks at me oddly, and I'm like, I have a call-in. We are going to Salt Lake. And I had traveled out there and seen that it had something sacred in it. So we get in a van and we pack our house up and we drive out west into one person in Salt Lake.
From Connecticut to Salt Lake City.
Yes, 2,200 miles, 3 days of driving for 10 hours, pretty much. And we end up in an Airbnb. And I begin, and this is March of 25. And now we are to July 26. I've been granted land by the governor up at Capitol Hill in Utah. I had an unveiling last night at the Utah State Capitol, probably 500 to 800 people that came. I have begun to organize a group of high-ranking officials to make this happen. And the difference is that I'm not only the sculptor this time, but I'm the commission. And then I have to set up the financial aspect of that, which is, a charitable donation through National Monuments Foundation, so we can receive funds. And I raised up to date $2.3 million to make that model that you saw that we created at Tanglewood. So this is like America. You have vision, you have an idea, and then yes, it's damn hard to implement. But I have been able to implement the concept and the idea because the dream of stepping into the void, that's what we were talking about before with the faith. That's what I am doing. I'm doing what the monument of. And so that's the big difference. Is last time that was my trial run, but this wouldn't have happened if I don't have that as the World War I Memorial as proof of concept, because quite a few people from Salt Lake have gone to DC, government officials, and seen that, and they're like, whoa, this guy is here in Salt Lake, and he has an idea. And so then it's like the springboard to making this next monument, which, by the way, is 3 times the size of the World War I Memorial. And it's an 8-year project, more or less. to be unveiled before the 2034 Olympic Winter Games here in Salt Lake.
Okay, the World War I memorial in DC, and that completely makes sense. It captures the mood of the nation in the capital, and it's vital from the capital to be looking out and understanding that as the center of the USA. Utah, fill me in on Utah, because Utah is a little bit off the beaten track, certainly for me as a Brit.
Yeah, Utah's a very interesting city. Our country is morphing. The East and the West Coast are in decay. Let's face it, New York City, there's a giant exodus because of the direction it is moving politically. The stranglehold in the box is getting smaller. So always go to money. Taxes and policy are like not conducive to creating and running a business. Sculpture, believe it or not, it is art, but it is a business because there's a lot of process costs. And so the regulation that is not allowing for entrepreneurs, I'm an entrepreneur, to grow, is stripping the city of its tax base. So then how are you going to pay for all the services for, the incoming, people that have come across the border? And so the problem is that as the tax base leaves, the services diminish, the quality of life decreases, and nobody on the East Coast is going to commission a piece that speaks about pride in country and God and rising to the occasion and all the things we've just discussed. And so going to Salt Lake, I'd met the senator at the unveiling, and so I came out here. And the Mormons were the people that settled the land here in the 1860s. So very similar to just driving west. It's people moved west driven by the concept of liberty. Liberty led them west because you come out west and you're not within the confines of these buildings and skyscrapers and narrow roads where you can't see the sky. It's a sense of expansion. The environment is very large, mountains in the background, very beautiful, and it's booming. It's a booming economy with a state of 4.5 million people, which allows tremendous growth, except the culture is not up to speed yet. So I'm coming here to change that. And it's a platform. I mean, I went to a meeting. Yes, we did do a lot of work with the Capital Preservation Board. This is an example. And in 10 minutes, I had a unanimous vote being granted land up at the state capitol. I'm given an autonomous park where I can build this monument. How long would that take in London or New York City? Maybe a decade, maybe one meeting, but we did do work with the governor and the constituents. And then I'm accepted for my values. I'm accepted for my faith and cherished for bringing truth, beauty, and goodness back to art to represent this constituency of citizens that have a sense of faith. And it's not what I'm used to. I'm a Catholic coming out of Italy, but there are certain things that are similar. And so that's why I came to Utah. It's known as the United States' best ski area. And so that's I don't ski. I'm going to try this winter. But it has a great sense of building, and it has not been defined yet. It's not crystallized yet. So we don't have this in Europe. Everything in Europe has been defined. It's a class structure. It's very hard to break past anything. Here, I've met people very quickly, and that would never happen. I mean, I do come with a big reputation. Yes, granted.
I want to get on to the faith aspect now. We'll leave, all the links will be in the description for everyone to look at them and really follow what is happening with with the Grand Liberty Arch, and it looks exciting, fascinating, and tell the story. And you're right, so different from art today, which seems to be it's a blank page for you to project whatever you want, and yet you are telling the story through art, and that's kind of traditionally what I would like art to be, to take me on a journey as opposed to tell it what it thinks. But it's a concept of faith. I was intrigued watching your speech, and I wrote an article, and I didn't include you in it, but I went back and rewatched your video and realized what you said: if we see human beings as meaningless, we will build systems that treat them as worthless. But if we see human beings as made in the image of God, we will build monuments and nations that reflect their sacred work. That one line is extremely powerful and comes out in both your memorials and I'm sure your other art, that you, because God sees mankind as important, that individuals having meaning, and your projects portray that. But how does that concept of how God sees us as our self-worth, how does that come out in your art?
There's a string between what was going on in Florence in the 1500s and what I do. Because I was surrounded by that as a child, I returned to that as an artist at age 19. And so if you look at how the figure is portrayed by artists such as Michelangelo, Leonardo, and Raphael, it becomes obvious. It's the elevation of the human spirit, and art is exactly that in those times. It's a litmus test. It is the human consciousness and representation of the human consciousness. And so if you look at how the figures and my form that I look at is the Renaissance and the Greeks and the Romans. If you look at all their art and you see beautiful things, let's go to the Sistine Chapel. There are, I think, 280 figures on the Last Judgment, but there is a sense of that is one painting, and then there's all these figures, but they are all interconnected and part of the whole. And so there's a hierarchical system of all these parts being unified and making a oneness. That is a religious, spiritual statement that comes out of God. And then that's what I am playing. I'm looked at that and I'm playing that string forward in my art. No way do I want to be archaeological. I want to take that form and reinvent it in an age where technology is so powerful, and movies are very part of our culture. And so I made a movie in bronze, and that's the string. And if you look at painters like, I don't know, Jenny Saville or Lucian Freud, the English painter, that type of art has a sense of degradation and ugliness. And it's on purpose. It's not my taste. I don't want to present the figure as alienated and alone. And it's a continuation of modernism and the concept of we are alone. There is no God. We are not interconnected. We are driven by our own individual health and the ego, and our feelings are what is prominent, where I am saying, no, I am in service of God and I am a conductor of that spiritual energy. And so this is less about me as an artist and much more about me being connected to something larger than myself, whereas they are saying we are the gods of our painting and our sculpture. And so we're uniquely individual, and there's no connection between us all. And I'm saying, no, that's a damn shame. You guys just don't get it. And so if you look at the World War I Memorial and the Grand Liberty Arch, all those figures, yeah, they're individual figures, but they're all connected to make one monument, one message, the hero's journey. It's not, there are lots of stories, but all those stories are like chapters within a book.
Later. No, it does. And I mean, interested in your journey through art from, you talked about from 19 on, but it's an industry, it's a field that rejects God, rejects meaning, and you're right that artists become their own God. They're presenting they're their own creators. How, I mean, being someone who believes in God, who believes in the divine, who looks to God for God, how did that fit into an industry that felt the opposite?
Was this thing was I'd been doing bronzes of mostly male nudes in New York City for let's say from I came back from Italy in '87 in Rome as a student, and then I was in New York City till basically 2015. And so I sculpted from male nudes, doing a contemporary version of gods from the Roman and Greek, books, Mars, Venus, or Aphrodite, Hermes. And so I saw that as I was in the gallery system for a while, then I did my own galleries. So you're selling a product, you're in a commodities market. And then I was never able, I did well for an artist because I had, you had a business sense. You make sculpture, you got to pay for casting, you got to pay for the models, you got to pay for the studio. It's like but it's speculation. You're doing everything on spec. And then you have to learn how to speak about your art, which is kind of like, that helps as an artist, because then you have to, literally you're pitching to people, hey, let me explain to you what I do. And so then that's what business is. It's relational. So I had to grow in terms of also my understanding of finance and money, because money is not an evil thing. Look, I came from 2 PhDs who are both Marxists and couldn't see, the light of day, and they're atheists. So that's where I'm coming from. So I'm the black sheep in the family. So I had to redefine who I am as a human being and my value system, and also like how do you fit within society? And it's like they're like looking at me like cockeyed, like, wait a minute, you're not getting paid by anybody on Friday. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. It's gonna like put me in a box. I want to like figure this out myself, and I'm gonna set up a system. And they're like, you're crazy, son. What are you doing? It's like, when are you going to get a job? And this, so this like, you learn through where does wisdom come from? From suffering, God damn it. Sorry, guys. That's where wisdom comes from suffering. And so much of what gets taught in school is just nonsense and information that has no like reason then to like help you develop as a human being. It's information. And so if you go, I'm around this system, not only by my parents, but so many of people in New York are coming out of a college system with what they're taught in college is how they will lead their life. And they certainly don't teach you about God in college. They teach you that that's some old white man nonsense from Western civilization. And so that's like, if you're looking at, if that is your answer, you're a hick. Literally, people will laugh at you if you say, I believe in Christ, my savior. They will laugh. And so it's like, well, okay, fine. And so then it's like, I developed from being a studio artist and realizing that I would be doing that till my dying day. And I went into the arena of, I got called by Frank Gehry for his Eisenhower Memorial. And he luckily kept me on for 3 months and then said, no, we can't keep you because I had too many ideas. I'm not like sitting in a corner, yes, sir, whatever you need. No, it's like, no, I think what you're doing is crap. That's I told him basically. And then I applied for the World War I Memorial. And from there, it was like, I when the doors open just a little bit, there's a crack in the door. I jammed my foot in there, and I'm a stubborn bastard, and I'm just going to get this. We went through 4 years of fighting to get to the other side, of getting the Commission of Fine Arts, again, driven by modern ideology, to the other side and getting approval for the project. So all these things where you suffer, you grow. And as I grew, my heart went more towards the light, because what I was making already was spiritual enough. You're doing the figure and you're looking at Leonardo, that's already spiritual. It's a base. And so then it's like, as you go through more suffering, and then you meet veterans that have been through the ringer, like, do I want to continue living? And some of them have tried to commit suicide and walk back into life, and they'd all face death and seen their friends die in front of them. It's going to scar them. And they're in my studio and I'm learning from them. And so it's like, there's no atheist in the foxhole. And that's the next step. The World War I memorial brought me to Christ. And then now it's like I'm in Salt Lake where I can be myself and I can say God in a speech. And then I come to art and I have no fear of saying, this is because of God. And that's my power. It's not disempowering. It's like it's increased my courage. And now I'm really dangerous to the modern art world because I can name it out and you can cancel me because I don't want to be on your freaking list anyway.
You said the World War I memorial opened you to Christ. You said you grew up as a black sheep of the family, and just touch on that then about how you found God in an environment of growing up that I'm sure many of the viewers will understand, that an environment where the family did not necessarily open those doors or teach, or there wasn't that environment. So often people find a path by themselves and they come to the realization of God themselves. What was it like for you?
This will be a complete non sequitur for the audience. I was a rock climber as well. And I grew up in the Alps. And I don't know, a lot of you have probably been outdoors. And there is a beauty and a majesty and a grace to how our universe is assembled. And when you are a climber and you do something that puts you on the edge where you face death. I wasn't doing easy routes. I was doing things that are walls, sheer walls, and placing gear and climbing up walls. There is a sense, it's all chemical, where you enter into a moment of flow. You become part of something. It's larger than yourself. And this was kind of an initiation. It broke me away. It was in the 90s, in the late 90s. I would climb all over the world. I went to the Dolomites. I actually came to Salt Lake. I went to Idaho, climbed in Idaho a lot. And it was an opening of my eyes. It began to show me, like, you climb on something. You don't see anybody. You're just with your partner. And you are on edge. And it's if you make a mistake, it's very easy not to come back that day. And so you're surrounded by these moments of just expansive, and you see how small you are within the whole. And you see this it's truly a perfection in nature. And it had a parallel message to what I did in the studio where I'm looking at a model. It's very different, environment, but it's very similar because when you're looking at the model, and my education opened my perception, because if the education of how the figure is assembled and structured and organized as an organic architectural structure, that's where my education came out of Philadelphia in the 80s. That was really the anchor that when I looked at the model, I would see all these things that a layperson would not see. And it was the things that the Renaissance masters saw. So I was already on the path. And as you pass through all these experiences, I feel like I'm on a path that I did not create. It's a path that God created for me. And He exposes me to these things. And then I open my heart and my mind to accepting and learning. And it's very humbling because it shows you just how little you know. That's not the way our society is running these days. It's a different time frame. To sculpt from a model is very much like being in a library, dark room with single lights on the model. It's very monastic. Climbing is very monastic. You have to be with yourself. And it's sculpting at this way is very, very focused. You're very you're on the sharp end. You're really using all of your brain, all of it, very organized. You're right on your max, and climbing's the same. You're on your max. So I'm not individual who loves motorcycles, speed, living on the edge. Sculpture, what I do is actually I'm living on the edge. I redesigned the World War I at full scale, making massive changes in the design. Not big ones, but ones that would scare the hell out of most sculptors because they'd be like, well, what about if I don't pull it off? I'm like, let's go for it. I like being in that spot where you're in the pressure cooker. And so it's the nature of who I am. I will challenge myself till I die. And I have an amazing partner with Tracy, my best friend, who she's very spiritual. And that's why we got together 25 years ago. She brought to me the vocabulary of the spiritual. And we have conversations every day in our household about like, how do we proceed forward in this world that is rejecting it? And art, it was amazing to be around 4,000 other people that are on a similar path. There are a lot of us, and we're growing.
Yeah, just the one phrase you gave, and just to finish with that, just your short thoughts on it was, you said God never went away. It's just that some of us closed our eyes, and it seemed as though art is one way of opening people's eyes. I mean, finish on that thought.
Yeah, it's a great thought. It's the dream I always had, what you just said, that art, I would make an art that would change others. And again, it's an aspect of, I'm not making the art for myself. It's not just my practice anymore. It's something to be shared with others. And my goal to accomplish is making art sacred again. Let's visit this word sacred. It's not necessarily to do with God only. We look at like some art from the very beginning of time that we study, as we used to before in art history, when it was real art and it wasn't all based on political nonsense of victim oppressor mentality, Loda Hui and DEI. That's not what we're talking about. The sacred and the caves of Lascaux in France are the common thread that has run through Western civilization since the beginning of time. And that is, the art was a matter of life and death. And it still is a matter of life and death, because it can make someone change internally by looking at something that's been created by hands, heart, and head. And so then it has tremendous significance when you delve into that. It's almost magical. It's mystical. It's all chemical when you look at something. Like it changes, all chemical being that it changes the energy within your soul and drives you towards a place of being your best version, moving towards higher consciousness. That's not what the art world's doing. And everybody, how many people actually look at art anymore? Because it's valueless for most of the general population. It's changed its concept into like, how much is this worth on the auction block at Sotheby's? And so then the value for the common man is nil, void. And they're not stupid. The common man's not stupid. They know. And so they know when, I'm not bragging, but when they see the World War I memorial, you know what they say? That's beautiful and that's real art. And so the thread is, it's about human beings because it's elevating sacredness of human beings because of the concept of made in God's image. And then it's also directing human beings because art and life are separates. And so it's directing our life in a direction of what can be, and I use the term rise to the occasion. That's what I'm doing with my art.
Well, Sabin, I appreciate you giving us your time after that launch yesterday, and you are to many functions today. So thank you so much for unpacking that a little bit, and looking forward to the Grand Liberty Arch and how it develops. Love this thread of the divine that goes all the way through that relationship. So thanks so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you, Peter. I loved the conversation with you this morning. Thank you very much for having me on.